After 8 years, the private World of Warcraft server Turtle WoW is unfortunately being shut down by Blizzard. I have over 2,000 hours and 23 different characters on Turtle WoW, and even though I've taken a step back from gaming recently, hearing this news is heartbreaking. I've tried to describe to some of my friends who don't play WoW why Turtle WoW was so good, and why I care so much about an illegal private server for a game that was released in 2004. I haven't been able to get my point across very well, as there's much to talk about in regards to Turtle WoW, so I thought I'd make a video dedicated to the topic. I played the Warcraft RTS games and World of Warcraft since I was around 8 years old. I remember my older brother getting his friends over and having LAN parties, playing tower defense games until the early hours in the morning. I remember my brother's friend letting me run around Contreras on his level 40 warrior. That was the start of my WoW journey, and I played every expansion all the way up until Shadowlands. Across the years I also played on numerous private servers, in between convincing my parents to buy me game time. During that time I would also play games like RuneScape and MapleStory. As I got older, I noticed the quality of WoW really dropped each expansion, and the game that I fell in love with as a kid was no longer what the current WoW was, and felt hollow in comparison. I don't remember the exact timeline, but in between retail expansions, I eventually started playing on different classic WoW private servers. That is, servers that were based on the original World of Warcraft game without any expansions. I played on one of these private servers called Elysium, and after that played on a server called Lights Hope, which eventually shut down on the release of Blizzard's own WoW Classic servers. I then played on the official servers from day one, but something about it just felt off. I leveled a character to 60, got pre-raid best in slot gear, and then hit the raid log wall and just stopped playing. Upon the release of the Burning Crusade Classic, which was the classic version of the first World of Warcraft expansion, I leveled a character to 70 on that too, but then quit again. There were many things about Blizzard's version of the game that just weren't the same as how I remembered them as a kid. Most people were min-maxing or following guides, the game was solved, you had people level boosting, which was high-level players spamming lower-level players through dungeons to level them up at a much faster rate than they could do themselves, and then the players would pay with in-game currency. Alongside this, with the release of Burning Crusade Classic, you also had Blizzard actually have an option of spending 40 USD to instantly level your character to level 58. There was also a ridiculous amount of bots and real money trading. The economy was completely cooked from overpowered gold farms, which in many cases had people who were actually hacking to fly around in dungeons and exploit to farm gold. This too connected to something called GDKPs, which was the act of buying gear from raids with in-game currency, which actively incentivized people to use real money to buy in-game items. Blizzard didn't really try to do anything about any of these issues, which many people have pointed out over the years, especially with their reporting and ticketing system, which was pretty much ran by AI to save on the costs of actually hiring people to handle these problems. There was also something called layering, which is a system that was implemented as a way of reducing Blizzard's server costs. It meant that they could have more people on the servers at once, but phase the population into different layers. So you could be on the same server, standing in the same place, but not see your friend standing right next to you. Or walk into a capital city, and it be completely dead with no one in it. The population felt very scarce. It had none of that social, community, MMO vibe that I remember from being a kid. The game just didn't have that same feeling that the old game did back in the day, or even that private servers had. It just felt like a cold imitation, which is odd because technically this is released by the same company that released the original game. During Burning Crusade Classic, I started to level a character on Turtle WoW on the side, and ended up switching over full-time to Turtle WoW. There are so many great things about Turtle WoW that I find it hard to put it succinctly. If I had to find what the most important part of it was, it's that Turtle WoW was clearly made by people who love the original game. Its devs genuinely seem to care about making a great game instead of making a product or farming subscription money. Unlike Blizzard's re-release of Classic WoW, there was no botting, no real money trading, no layering, no economy ruining gold farms, no GDKPs, hard limits on multi-boxing, actual human game masters and admins that would actually respond to tickets and turn up in-game and help you or ban someone for breaking the rules, which I personally witnessed twice. These things alone separated it from Blizzard's version of classic WoW, and these are only some of the things that Turtle WoW did differently. Turtle WoW was vanilla World of Warcraft plus, where they essentially took the original World of Warcraft from back in the day and added content horizontally. For context, every expansion released by Blizzard, starting with the Burning Crusade, shifted the players to be in another part of the world and added content vertically. So once a new expansion came out, it made most of the previous content obsolete. This included town hubs or meeting spaces that all the players used to gather in. In Burning Crusade, most of the old world was very quiet due to all the players being in the new zone Outlands. It was the same thing with Wrath of the Lich King, which was their second expansion, where everyone was located in Dalaran, which then made Burning Crusade and the original game world obsolete. This sort of game design takes away from the experience of the world of Warcraft, as each expansion just forces everyone into a smaller part of the world and isolates everyone from the old content. This vertical design kind of shoots itself in the foot in a way, as they're adding more content and more zones, but in the process they're actually making the world feel a lot smaller and cutting off players from previous content that was great. On Turtle WoW, they took the original vanilla WoW from 2004 and finished off a heap of content from the game that wasn't finished on release, as well as adding completely new content and dungeons, and even additions to existing dungeons. This was all in theme and in line with the old content. Every addition was made following the same design ethos as the original game, even down to the new loading screen images. They even added content that was mentioned in the lore in old Warcraft games, like Baelor from Warcraft 2, and added them into the game. They added over 2,100 new quests, 10 new zones, over 5,551 custom items, 3,364 creatures, as well as new original soundtracks made for the server by amazing people in the community that fit in with the vibe. I'd be playing on the server and stumble across a new piece of content that was so artistically cohesive with the original game that it unlocked that feeling of discovery I had when I was a kid playing WoW. And to the devs' credit, sometimes I would see content that they had added and I would question if this was in the original game or if it was an addition, which is a testament to their work. Part of this new content was also new lore, which was kept more in line with the rest of the original Warcraft universe. Following on from Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne, we had High Elf remnants as part of the Alliance and Goblins as part of the Horde. Many original quest lines or factions were finished or expanded upon, and many of the new zones featured continuations or expansions of the lore that was hinted at or mentioned in previous games or quests. The horizontal way the Turtle WoW dev team added all this content, expanded on the world, whilst not running into the same problem that Blizzard expansions did. All of the content that was added really did make the world feel bigger, and added additional content while still keeping everything anchored and in context with the capital cities and player hubs. Upon the release of major content patches, the Turtle WoW devs would turn off the public database for a month, so players could organically discover stuff and experience the new zones, quests, and dungeons without knowing all the loot, quest rewards, etc. This really combated the solved feeling and enabled that feeling of immersion and discovery. There were also major class changes and rehauls of certain talent trees, making every class and role viable and not just meme specs like Ret Paladin, Balance Druids, and Arcane Mages. Every talent tree was taken and worked into something better, like for instance Survival Hunters having a melee spec, Shamans and Paladins now being able to tank. They rounded out everything and made every class stronger and have more abilities, which added more nuance to the gameplay. They did this in line with the old RPG way of thinking, building upon traditional class roles and keeping everything in line with the class identity. This also goes along with another change, which was making dungeons and raids have increased difficulty. Not to a crazy degree, but to the point where it was much more satisfying to get through a dungeon and raid with your group. Every dungeon was a little bit more like an actual arduous adventure, and finishing it up was much more satisfying. This change also made people less likely to spam dungeons to level up and actually engage with other new content out in the world. The game design direction that was taken by the Total WoW team was definitely less directed towards min-maxing and rushing to 60. I personally have never been able to understand the mentality that leveling in WoW is just filler. To me, that is most of the game. A lot of people in the classic WoW community just want to skip through leveling, even in some cases paying real-life money to skip most of the process, because to them, the real game is the endgame content. I noticed this mentality a lot in the retail iterations of Classic, which was encouraged by Blizzard themselves with their paid level boost. This further exacerbated the feeling of FOMO. I don't want to have to level this character while my friends are raiding and playing in the Outlands, and in a way I would say that this fear of missing out was actually valid, as the way those releases work, you had like 2 months before all the servers died off. In Total WoW, it was okay to be a noob. It was okay to take your time. There was no rage kicking out of a party because your DPS on the meter wasn't high enough. Having ults was a good thing and encouraged. It was all about the leveling, making friends, having fun adventures. The new leveling zones and quests really added to this because for every ult you made, you have more content to do. You could pick a different leveling route, a different zone, a different dungeon, or even do new quests that were added onto the old zones. It was about the journey, not the destination. The Total WoW server and community was all in one place, and it was global. So everyone around the world in different countries playing was all in the same place. On top of this, it had cross-faction dungeons, auction houses, and trade, and it also had world chat, where you could literally talk to everyone who was online playing the game in one chat channel across both factions. When you walked into a capital city, you could actually see everyone, and you could feel just how alive the game was. It was an actual MMO, like I played back in the day. When I was a kid, so much of playing MMOs was the community and making friends and just chatting with people from all around the world. Old MMO games doubled as chat rooms, and Total WoW definitely recaptured this vibe. You'd be leveling or group up to do a dungeon or a quest with people, and then a zone later, you'd recognize them and party up again. You'd help out random people, trading them potions or food, helping someone with an elite mob that you had already killed, but, you're just passing through, so why not? A lot of people like myself came to Total WoW, and a big part of why we stayed was the community. These experiences and communities lasted for a short period of time in Retail Classic, but on Total WoW these experiences were evergreen. There was even a large role-playing scene that was protected and encouraged by the devs, to the point of actually adding more content around the world that added a bit more life to empty areas, and that was utilized by the role players. I think another part of why the community could thrive is the fact that it was free to play. The community is here and not going anywhere. You can leave for a bit and come back and pick up where you left off, and that's okay. I think that aspect created an environment where you can take your time and smell the roses. You don't have to worry about your subscription money burning if you don't efficiently use your time to play the game. On Total WoW there was also challenge modes added into the game, so upon character creation, you could choose to be locked into leveling with a certain challenge. You could also double or triple up on these challenges. One of the most popular of these on the server was the Hardcore Challenge. It was, in my opinion, the best iteration of this I've seen done in WoW. You took the Hardcore Challenge at level 1, and if you died at any point on your way to level 60, that's it. Your character's dead. You've got 1 life, and you'll have to start all over again with a new character from level 1. If you got to level 60, you became mortal again, and you got a cool mount and a title. Or, if you wanted, you could take a custom quest before level 60 to become an Inferno mode player, which means you never become immortal. On Total WoW as a hardcore player, you could only group up or trade with other hardcore characters, and only if they were within 5 levels of you. No auction house, no trading with non-hardcore characters. I personally really enjoyed the Hardcore Challenge, and I think it worked really well with the community of Total WoW as well. Everything I just spoke about in regards to leveling with others, making friends, and all of that was really amplified on Hardcore, because you've all got to look out for each other. It really added a bit of adrenaline to the gameplay. In addition, as a hardcore character, when you died, everyone on the server saw it in the chat, and saw what level you died at and how you died. When this happened, the whole world chat would blow up, especially when it was a high-level character that died. As well as this, when a hardcore character died, a gravestone would appear on the spot. And if you hovered your mouse over it, it would tell you their name and what level they died at, which served as a warning to other hardcore players. If you walked into the mouth of a cave and saw 4 different gravestones, you would understand that this is a dangerous area and you should probably turn around. As well as hardcore mode, you also had slow and steady, or turtle mode, which meant you only received 50% of the experience from killing mobs, and if you died, you lost 5% of your experience. You also got some fun gifts and items every 10 levels. This was the mode for people who really wanted to take their time and experience all the quests in a zone, and really experience all the new zones without out-leveling the quests. This mode was also helped by another change, which is that grey quests, which used to de-incentivize people handing in quests that they'd over-leveled, now actually had been balanced to still give rewards even if you had out-leveled it. There was also a challenge called Boring Adventure, which was based off the South Park episode, which meant you could only kill boars to level 60. There was Vagrant's Endeavour, which meant you could only wear normal or poor quality items, no enchants, until level 60. And there was a few more challenge modes that I won't get into. Like I said before, if you wanted to, you could take on multiple challenges at once. So if you truly wanted, you could be a vagrant, hardcore, slow and steady player, and receive all the different awards upon hitting level 60. Another unique addition to Turtle WoW was tents. This was an item that you could craft from the new survival profession, which gave you and everyone underneath it rested experience at an increased rate. These would create small pockets of the community throughout zones, and brought everyone together every couple of levels. It was a great addition, and it really encouraged taking a break or socializing between leveling. This video is probably running a little bit long now, so I'm going to do a quick list of some of the other added stuff that I enjoyed in the game. You had radio, DJs and live music, darker nights, no world buffs and raids, added itemization that filled gaps, distinct tier sets for different specs, more professions, lore-accurate race and class combinations, new modes of transport, faction vendors, guild quarters, transmog, PvP changes and fixes, no more stagnant PvP racials, guild bases, filling out of the world with outposts and towns, and much, much more. After experiencing all of this amazing content, it's no wonder why people flock to Turtle WoW over Blizzard's version. I've seen a lot of conversation recently about Blizzard and the nature of private servers. A lot of people talk about IP lore and how Turtle WoW devs and its fans deserve what was coming to them. I think most people who played Turtle WoW understand that it was illegal, that private servers are something that Blizzard will shut down as soon as possible. But the thing is, even though we understood that, we still played it anyways because it's a better game than what Blizzard provides and realistically will ever provide. If Blizzard made the current World of Warcraft Classic free to play, I wouldn't play it. I think the differences are akin to an indie developer versus a AAA studio. The love and passion for the game and the art form is incongruent with a big corporation's methods of maximizing profit until it's completely wrung out. Once it becomes solely about profit and not about making something cool, then it is inevitably doomed to become a shadow of what it once was. This point is especially evident when looking at Blizzard's content backed by a vast amount of money and resources, which is nowhere near the quality of a fan project made by a small, dedicated and passionate team scattered across the world. I would rather give the dev team of Turtle WoW my money, knowing that my money is going towards supporting people who are working to provide an awesome server, than I would give it to some soulless corporation who views their fans as nothing more than a source of cash flow. I truly don't think that Blizzard at this point is capable or even willing to create anything close to Turtle WoW. Nostalgia is a topic that people talk about a lot when they talk about classic WoW, as if to imply that the game you remember wasn't actually that good and that your perception is biased because you played it as a kid. This even extends to Blizzard themselves, who initially, in regards to classic WoW, said,
"You think you do, but you don't."
In some cases, this may be true. Something may hold value to someone purely because of their own nostalgia for it, and there's not much else to credit to the experience besides fond memories. While I understand that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, it's my opinion that the original World of Warcraft was an amazing game that peaked in many different regards, which the following expansions moved farther and farther away from. When playing Turtle WoW, I was given the experience that I had as a kid again, not just because it was familiar and the same thing I'd already played a million times, but because it rooted itself in that foundation and built upon it in a way that kept the same essence of the original design. I can honestly now say, I've got nostalgia for Turtle WoW. I don't think there will be anything like it ever again. They took the game I loved as a kid and said, okay, here you go. Here it is again, but it's better in every way, and there's more to come. It's a shame that all good things must come to an end. I'm not sure if I'll ever come back to WoW, because I don't think there'll be anything like Turtle WoW again, and now that I've had the experience that the devs provided, I don't think anything else will reach the high bar that they set. Thank you to everyone involved in the Turtle WoW project, for providing me with the wonderful experiences and making me feel like a kid playing WoW again. Good luck and farewell to you, and farewell to everyone else around the world that I adventured with through my 2,000 hours. Safe travels, thanks for watching.
Here we